the constellation of Leo. In other words, this lion monument on the ground was looking at its own celestial counterpart in the sky. Egyptologists dismiss that. They say that nobody had any idea of the constellations until the Greeks. I think they're wrong. So astronomy and geology together combine to invite us to consider the possibility that the Sphinx may be much older than 4,500 years old.
And didn't the Greeks learn from the Egyptians as well?
Not only did they learn, but they said they learned.
Yeah, so
the Greeks were very honest about it. They sat at the feet of the ancient Egyptians. They said they learned everything they knew from the ancient Egyptians. But somehow, archaeology has rewritten the narrative and gives far too much to the Greeks. Ancient Greek was a wonderful culture, magical culture, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful work, but a relatively recent culture. And it was channeling knowledge from much earlier times. In a way, ancient Greece is the meeting point between the lost ancient world and the modern world in which we live. And that's why the Greeks and the Greek texts are so useful to us. And that's why I think the Atlantis story is a very important story.
Well, it's also, we do that today. If you look at the Lincoln Monument and you look at the Parthenon, I mean, we mimic ancient Greek architecture today.
Absolutely, yeah. We're still copying it. And what were the ancient Greeks copying? They were copying the Egyptians.
It just completely makes sense.
Yeah, go to the Temple of Karnak, go to the Temple of Luxor. You're looking at the model for the later Greek temples. They followed that example, and they were honest about it. It's modern archaeology that has kind of rewritten the story and given way too much to the Greeks.
When you say that in Gobekli Tepe, the speculation is that they use stone tools.
Yes.
Is there any evidence of bizarre cutting like they find in Egypt, where it looks like they're using some sort of a cylindrical drill, or whether it looks like the stone is somehow scooped out in some method that we don't understand?
I've not seen evidence of a cylindrical drill at Gobekli Tepe, but what you do see, I'm going to press that red button.
There you go.
What you do see at Gobekli Tepe is pillars with carvings in relief on them. Three-dimensional carvings which stand out. That means that all of the stone around the carving had to be cut away. It wasn't a matter of incising the carving into the stone. You had to remove the stone around it and leave it standing proud.
Much more sophisticated.
And it's much more sophisticated, and it's on the oldest so far identified pillar in Gobekli Tepe, which maybe Jamie can call up. It's pillar 43 in enclosure D at Gobekli Tepe, which is... Any chance of getting that up? Yeah. It's a remarkable piece of ancient art. It's definitely 11,600 years old. So often, the Tepe telegrams, for example, will show it. That's on the right there, another wonderful piece of relief carving. But there, pillar 43, this vulture is in exactly the position of the constellation of Sagittarius. And the disk over its wing suggests the sun against the background of the constellation of Sagittarius. Below it, we have a scorpion, so like the constellation of Scorpio, and roughly in the right place. Above it, we have a serpent descending, a bit like Ophiuchus. It seems to speak to a knowledge of astronomy at an ancient time. Again, it's controversial, but a lot of work has been done on this. But the point is, the carving of that is highly sophisticated at 11,600 years old.
That creature, whatever it is, Jamie, that one that's sort of black and white, that image in the center says Visual Arts Cork. Yeah, click on that one. That one's amazing.
It's amazing. They cut away the whole pillar to leave that creature there, which itself is hard to identify. Is it a crocodile? We found something very similar in Peru, as a matter of fact.
Well, the proportions are off for a crocodile. It looks more like a cat.
Yeah, I think it looks more like some kind of feline, but exactly what creature it is
something with a tail.
Yeah, it's hard to identify.
When, this is all so interesting to me. And when these people are trying to date this to 11,800 years ago and say that people only had stone tools, how do they speculate that these people did this stuff?
You can do stuff with stone tools.
So they used harder stone to carve this stone.
That's the argument.
And is there evidence of these stones?
No, not that I'm aware of. There are some so-called pounding stones, but I find it difficult to see how pounding away could have created this very fine result. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. It's the same with the incredible work that you find at Cuzco and Sacsayhuaman in Peru. Again, they're not supposed to have had, this is supposedly recent, I think it's much older, the Incas, not supposed to have had metal tools. They're supposed to have done all the work with stone tools. I think it's a reach. I think we're looking at a technology we don't understand.
So one of them looks like a wild boar, that one to the left, Pinterest.
It
looks
definitely
like
a
some
wild
sort
boar.
of wild boar. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So that's identifiable, which is interesting when you look at the other ones that aren't that identifiable.
Yeah. Some of them are identifiable.
Yeah, I don't know what's that one supposed to be?
That's a fox.
A fox.
But interestingly, coming out of it are these streamers. And my colleague Martin Sweatman from the University of Edinburgh has suggested that is representing meteors coming down from the sky. Those streamers out of the tail of the fox, and the fox was a constellation.
What's that little fellow right there, Jamie? It says in Turkey, right to the left of your cursor. Yeah, right there. What's that?
A human form.
Is that another one from somewhere else?
No, that's I'm not sure which site that is from. It could be from Gobekli Tepe, judging by the feline figures beside it. Let's find out. Ad blocker.
Oh, you got us. You got to subscribe.
Yeah.
Oh, is the ad blocker?
Too complicated.
Is it letting you go back? Okay. Yeah. Well, how do they? We have those images from ancient Sumer, which are 6,000 years old or so, that show what appears to be the solar system. So how do they?
Well, first of all, let's remember ancient Sumer was in Mesopotamia.
Yes.
And Mesopotamia is a Greek word, means between the rivers. And the rivers referred to are the Tigris and the Euphrates. And where is Gobekli Tepe? Right between the headwaters of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers.
Here it is. Hard to grasp relief of man holding his phallus found in Turkey.
Which site? Sanliurfa is the big city nearby. That's where you need to go if you want to go to Gobekli Tepe. Not saying which site it was.
Can I see that image again?
It could be Karahan Tepe, where I've been, but I haven't seen that figure. That's.
It looks like he's covering his phallus, like he's embarrassed, or maybe he's pregnant.
Yeah.
Look, maybe it's the first pregnant man.
We don't know. We don't know what it means.
I don't want it.
But he's definitely